Welcome to this edition of the Travel Magazine as we explore Canada's capital city's parliament buildings and meet their founding fathers. Visit the historic Parliamentary Library and experience the state-of-the-art National Gallery. Sample a uniquely Canadian delight.
Maple syrup is just so delicious.
And take in shopping and dining at the Byward Market. We're in Ottawa, the capital of Canada, and if there's one place to begin your tour of the city, it's right here on Parliament Hill. In fact, 5,000 people a day tour the hill during the summer months. I'm beside the Centennial Flame. It was created in 1967 to commemorate the 100th birthday of Canada. Hello everyone, I'm Sandra Neal. Welcome to this edition of the Travel Magazine and the city of Ottawa. Ottawa is 124 kilometers north of the U.S. border on the Ottawa River. It got its name from the Indian word Atawak, named by the Algonquin tribe that settled and traded here. Samuel de Champlain was the first European explorer to set foot in the area, and for the Algonquin people, he was the first of many visitors to their land. During the War of 1812, the Rideau Canal was designed to divert military traffic away from the St. Lawrence River. Completed in 1832, the canal stretched 200 kilometers from Kingston to Ottawa. Today, the Rideau gives life to 170 kilometers of recreational pathways throughout the capital region. Ottawa has the most cyclists in Canada, but the rivers are also a paddler's paradise. Ottawa wasn't always a favored destination. In 1857, Queen Victoria was asked to settle a dispute and choose a capital for the province of Canada. One of the reasons she chose Ottawa was because of its location between Upper and Lower Canada. Her decision created a heated debate, as many Canadians wanted a larger, more established city for their capital. She was not amused by their protests and stood by her decision. Another controversy that had ears ringing in Ottawa was the placement of the War Memorial. Then Prime Minister Mackenzie King insisted it be in Confederation Square in view of Parliament Hill. Opponents believed it would create serious traffic problems. Despite the controversy, King George VI unveiled the memorial, which he called the Great Response, featuring 22 bronze figures representing people who fought in the First World War. Ironically, a few months after the memorial was unveiled, World War II began. On November 11th, Ottawa hosts a National Remembrance Day ceremony attended by the Prime Minister and the Governor-General. If you choose to visit the War Memorial from June to August, you won't want to miss the Ceremonial Guard's Public Duties display. Every day starting at 10 a.m., a colorful and dramatic presentation takes place on Parliament Hill. This dramatic display has been performed every summer since 1959. Most members of the Ceremonial Guard are part of the primary reserve attending college or university. Each member is trained in the time-honored tradition that originally began in 1939, when King George VI first visited Ottawa. I was taken by the pride and pageantry these young men and women exhibited throughout the ceremony. The Ceremonial Guard has performed for all the royal visits to Ottawa since 1959, including Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth and His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. Although this exciting display can only be experienced during the summer months, getting to know Canada's founding fathers is something you can discover year-round. The brilliant architects of responsible government, Canada's first prime ministers, the founding fathers of Confederation, and Nobel Peace Prize recipients all stand tall on Parliament Hill. A focal point on Parliament Hill is the centre block, where you never know who you'll meet.
Good day, good day. How do you do? Where are you from, sir?
Where might you both be from?
Oh, and are you a Liberal supporter, sir?
From Toronto. Going to have a word with you about that.
Well, I certainly hope that when you grow up, you'll vote for the Liberal Party.
Hello, my name is Sir John A. MacDonald. Happy to be Prime Minister of this great land of ours. Hi. Nice to meet you. How are you? Good day to you. It's quite a grip you've got there.
This majestic and imposing neo-Gothic building, called Centre Block, contains the House of Commons and the Senate. This is the East Block, where you'll find the Prime Minister. And the West Block houses administration offices. A striking part of Centre Block is the Peace Tower, standing 90 meters above the main building. Inside the tower, a carillon of 53 bells, which play twice a day. I was impressed to learn that the carvings, gargoyles, and friezes adorning the Parliament buildings have been called the purest example of Gothic Revival architecture in the Western Hemisphere. These hallowed halls are a silent reminder of Canada's past. But inside the chamber, when Parliament's in session, you'll know it.
The Auditor General has revealed. My question to the Prime Minister is how...
We're going to a negotiation where there will be 150 nations.
Jonathan, it's funny you don't notice how incredible the inside of the House of Commons is with all the yelling and screaming politicians that we see on television, but it's such a beautiful room. How many seats do we have?
We're surrounded by 301 seats in the House of Commons right now.
Are the public allowed to be in during session at all?
They certainly are. As well as being broadcast live on TV, the meetings are open to the public, and we can see one of the galleries just up in front of us. And there's actually room for about 600 people to come in, have a look at what's going on down here on the floor when the members are meeting.
I'm noticing the stained glass windows. Is there a story behind them?
There is. They weren't here originally. They were added in 1967 as part of the celebrations for our 100th year birthday. And each stained glass window represents one of the provinces, and it's made with the flower of that province. The ceiling is made of linen, and you can see a symbol for Canada, and then symbols for all of the provinces and territories represented in the ceiling. Now, we'd mentioned that there are 301 people who work here, and in order for them to have a meeting, the mace of the House of Commons that we can see here on display has to be present. Now, originally the mace was used as a weapon to protect the Speaker, because he wasn't always terribly popular, and it's more a symbol of the authority that the House of Commons has to make laws for our country.
And if it gets a little questionable in terms of out of control situations, who has the last word?
It's the Speaker who makes the final decision.
We got trouble.
We're now in the Senate chamber, and Jonathan, it doesn't look too unlike the House of Commons, and in fact, the purposes are mirrored. Can you tell me a little bit more about the role of the Senate?
Whenever we'd like to pass a law here at Parliament, both the House of Commons and the Senate have to go through the same process, and both chambers have to vote with a majority to pass the bill.
I am admiring the murals surrounding the chamber. They're spectacular. What do they represent?
There are 8 murals on permanent loan from our National War Museum, and they're to commemorate the contribution the Canadian soldiers made to the First World War effort.
Originally built in 1859, 40 years later in 1916, a fire started in Centre Block. It swept through both the east and west wings, destroying the original buildings and killing 7 people. But a quick-thinking employee in the library closed its iron doors and saved it from destruction. This magnificent room is decorated in white pine woodwork, surrounding a statue of Queen Victoria sculpted in 1871.
There used to be great big metal doors just at the entrance to the library, and they were shut the night of the fire. And that, combined with the fact that the wind was blowing the other way, stopped the fire from spreading into this part of the building.
Very fortuitous that the library was spared.
Definitely.
The architectural style still neo-Gothic?
Definitely, and this is actually the only part of the original building that remains standing today, so we get a glimpse of what it first looked like.
There are people working down below us, so this is an operating library?
It's a working library, only open for the parliamentarians, and is for any of their research needs while they're doing their work.
Special day for me today, July 2nd, 1872. It was 5 years ago now we'd beginning the great work, making this country what it can become. After the celebrations and the ceremonies were done, it was time to settle down to work. Work we did. We created the first government of the Dominion of Canada. It was not as easy as it sounds. With all those different interest groups that had to be satisfied. But we did it. And then we went to you, the residents of this new country, and asked you to confirm Confederation, which you did, sir. But you did.
Coming up next, we'll visit Ottawa's National Gallery. See who's home at Rideau Hall. Explore the unique delights of the Byward Market. And learn how to make and eat beaver tails.
Of course this guard is hot underneath that bearskin cap, but you'd never hear him talk about it, let alone complain. It's all part of the job. When we come back, we'll have more from Ottawa when the travel magazine continues, so stay with us. You're doing a great job. He said thank you, I think, under his breath.
Welcome back to the Travel Magazine as we explore Ottawa, Canada's capital, where you can use just about any mode of transportation to experience its rich history.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rideau Hall. My name is Joelle, and I am dressed as Lady Aberdeen. She was the spouse of our Governor General, Lord Aberdeen, from 1893 to 1898. What we're going to do today is visit the inside of the residence as well as part of the monkway. So I hope you enjoy your visit, and I'll invite you to follow me this way.
Rideau Hall has been the official residence of the Governor General since 1867. As the Queen's representative in Canada, the Governor General hosts visiting dignitaries and royalties like the Queen Mother, who toured Ottawa for the first time in 1939 with her husband, King George VI. Past Governor Generals include Raymond Massey, George Vanier, Roland Michener, and more recently, Ray Nitschischen, and the late Madame Jeanne Sauvé.
Here is the ballroom of Rideau Hall. This is actually where the vegetable garden to the home was located when it was first built in 1838. But then in 1873, this slightly grander room was added. We have a chandelier, which was added in 1951. Most definitely the largest chandelier we have in the house. It weighs 1 metric ton, so 1,000 kilograms, and is made with approximately 12,000 pieces of Waterford crystal from Ireland. In the arts alcove here at Rideau Hall, the stained glass windows were put in the early 1990s to commemorate the creation of the Governor General's Performing Arts Award. We have a Steinway baby grand piano, which used to belong to the Canadian pianist Glenn Gould, who is well known for his playing of Bach. And our piano has been refurbished so that it will still be played during events here in the ballroom. This room is the tent room of Rideau Hall, our most unique room in the house. It was actually first built in 1876 as an indoor tennis court. So what was done is that an actual tent would be hung in the room, tables and chairs were placed, and governors general were thus able to entertain. And the room stayed like that, switching back and forth from tennis court to reception room all the way up until the 1960s. Finally, in 1988, this renovation went in, but the form of a tent was preserved in the room because of the history here.
Welcome back to the Ontario Today Gardening Phone-In. I'm Dave Stevens with Ed Lawrence, Chief of Grounds and Greenhouse Operations in the official residences section of the National Capital Commission. The lines are full.
Good afternoon, sir.
Not only does Ed Lawrence answer the questions of Ottawa gardeners on the radio, he's also chief groundskeeper of the official residence in Ottawa, including Rideau Hall.
Have you seen any birds around?
And I'd love to go outside to see the grounds of Rideau Hall.
It's a perfect day, and they're one of 2 classified historic landscapes in the country. It's really a unique adaptation of the picturesque style of English garden landscape. Unique in that it's a Canadian adaptation with native Canadian materials, really forming the framework of the whole garden. The formal gardens back here are one of the 5 zones that have stayed virtually intact on the grounds since the grounds were developed, but development mostly around 1865, 1867 with the Confederation of Canada. And of course, all of our Governors General since Confederation have lived here at Rideau Hall.
Back on Parliament Hill, we head to Ottawa's downtown core for a change of pace and explore the Spark Street Mall. I found this outdoor oasis filled with shops and outdoor cafes, a welcome respite after a long day of touring. Our next stop is the National Gallery of Canada, a striking landmark that houses many of the country's art treasures.
The National Gallery of Canada began in 1880. Its contemporary home here on Sussex Drive was built in 1988 by the architect Moshe Safdie. The granite stones on the colonnade are sloped intentionally. That's because Safdie wanted the visitor to be slowed down so we could look outside and enjoy the neo-Gothic buildings surrounding Parliament Hill, his inspiration for building this structure.
Electronically controlled blinds and diffusing lenses protect the art from too much sunlight. The National Gallery frequently hosts world-class exhibitions featuring a wide variety of works. It's also home to such famous Canadian artists as Tom Thompson, Paul Peel, and Alfred La Liberté. The indoor garden was designed to provide peaceful contemplation in the heart of the gallery. This exhibit is actually a church, originally built in 1845. It was reassembled inside the gallery in 1988. This water garden provides an atmosphere for peace and reflection.
You will have places to go, my friends, and lands of your own. Aye, Sir George, the stalwart partner. 'Twas he who negotiated the entry of British Columbia into the Dominion when I fell so seriously ill 2 years ago, and who conducted the railway bill through the House. It's thanks to him we truly are a country from sea to sea.
Still ahead on the Travel Magazine, we'll visit the Byward Market and find out what a beaver tail, thank you, really tastes like. These come in 12 different flavors. This one is cinnamon and sugar, so stay with us.
That is delicious.
Welcome back as we continue with our tour of Canada's capital, Ottawa.
We must win this next election and finish our work. When I hand this country over to my successors, it'll be strong and independent, the senior partner of the British Empire. We will bind this country by the steel of a railway and fill it with eager immigrants. Confederation is only yet in the gristle. It will take 5 years more before it hardens into bone.
The Byward Market is one of the trendiest areas in Ottawa where you can buy produce or fish or dine at a cafe. But it wasn't always this way. Back in the early 1800s, before Ottawa even existed, the Byward Market was known as Lower Town. It was a lumber town occupied by the working class French and Irish. And believe me, does it have a colorful story to tell.
Lower Town was the site for decades of riots and major hostilities because residents always felt repressed by the Uptownians, who were in charge of local government and had most of the jobs. In the 1850s, things seemed to improve for Lower Town. When the railway made its way to Ottawa, there was plenty of work to go around. Back then, many of the Byward Market's original buildings were built of wood and didn't survive the ravages of time. Today, people still meet at the market, but on far more friendlier terms. It's now a hub of activity. No matter what the season, it's always a good time for beaver tails.
We are in the midst of learning how to make beaver tails with the creator of beaver tails, Grant Hooker. So we have dough.
We have a special dough. This is my grandmother's recipe. You shape it into the, the form of Canada's national symbol, the beaver. You did a good job on that, Sandra.
Ah!
The voyageurs made something like a beaver tail.
What topping should I try?
There's maple on this end of the beaver tail. Let's first of all go to maple syrup because that's what they would have eaten on beaver tails back in old Canada.
Wow.
And
maple
that's
syrup is
acceptable.
just so delicious. Wow.
See how the lemon changes the
Really
flavor?
zesty. I've never been in a nation's capital where the government buildings are so accessible and most of the attractions are free. And if you love nature, Ottawa has the Greenbelt and the waterways known as the Rideau. For the Travel Magazine, I'm Sandra Neal. Join us again as we travel the world.